compelling evidence explains conflicting stories of animosity among the law officers after the ambush of Bonnie and Clyde. Why was the name Prentice Oakley, the deputy who killed Clyde Barrow, originally even left off the historical marker, sparking much protests? Why were there many conflicting stories and tension between the law officers? Why such contention and ongoing fictitious accounts of firearms used? Some so-called legitimate accounts display guns supposedly used in the ambush that records show have a manufactured date after the date of the ambush. In all of the confusion, an amazing story known only to a few today and passed down by insiders provide compelling evidence of a failed plot to kill Clyde Barrow with his own gun. The plan revolved around the fact that Deputy Prentice Oakley brought to the ambush 2 guns he had borrowed from a friend. The guns had been kept in a bank vault, one being a Winchester 94 30-30. It was in a bank vault because it once belonged to Clyde Barrow. Historical accounts report Deputy Oakley borrowed the Winchester 94 30-30 that was kept in a bank vault, but at the ambush accounts say that the bank vault Winchester 94 30-30 was in the possession of Commanding Officer Sheriff Henderson Jordan, who was to give the fire command, which also gave him the opportunity for the first shot. Despite Oakley having borrowed Barrow's Winchester with a serial number containing 666, it was now in the possession of Sheriff Jordan for the kill shot. Deputy Oakley, undeterred, fired with another gun before the command was given, sparking tremendous controversy and conflict, but is acknowledged by historians as the person who killed Clyde Barrow. Many of the resulting conflicts that were revealed between the law officers are more easily understood with that information. The story of the mysterious Winchester 94 began before Bonnie and Clyde became famous. As teenagers, Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow occasionally attended an Assemblies of God church located in South Dallas, Texas. The pastor's sons were exceptional guitarists and also participated with their father in street ministry. It is well known that Clyde loved guitar music. It is well known in religious circles that Bonnie and Clyde sat on the same pew of the church the night one of their friends, the pastor's son, went to the altar for prayer. The pastor's son later became a world-renowned minister, as did his brothers. Bonnie and Clyde told him that night that they would come later, but they never did. It was said that Bonnie would have been all right if she could have stayed away from Clyde. Around the end of 1931, Bonnie Parker had been coming to church alone while Clyde was in prison for burglary. During this time, Bonnie asked the pastor of the church to take possession of a rifle that belonged to Clyde. The rifle contained 666 in the serial number, and she believed it was a bad sign. The number 666 is in the Bible in the book of the Revelation and known as the mark of the beast and widely accepted as an omen of evil. The number 10 is also considered to carry strong symbolism and in that context added an extra dimension to her concerns. The pastor took the rifle and the church people prayed over it that it might never be used in a crime. After Clyde returned from prison and again turned Bonnie's head, they soon disappeared in what would become the famous crime spree that led to their deaths. As they began to make headlines, the pastor, fearing that Bonnie might tell Clyde where the rifle was and that he might return for it, entrusted the gun to someone who took it out of state where it was kept in a bank vault. When it was learned by law enforcement that Thompson machine guns could not penetrate Bonnie and Clyde's car, plans were made to acquire hunting rifles with sufficient caliber to penetrate the metal. Deputy Oakley knew of the Winchester 94 30-30 in the bank vault, and it fit the need perfectly, and the fact that it once belonged to Clyde Barrow was even better. What could be better than to kill Clyde Barrow with his own gun? The plan failed when Sheriff Jordan, who was in charge of the ambush and Oakley's superior officer, took the Winchester for himself to make the kill shot. However, Deputy Oakley, with the other gun, before the command was given, fired the first shot that killed Clyde Barrow. Any shots from the Winchester 94 at the ambush are unknown. The plan for Clyde's gun had lost its purpose and the gun was eventually returned to the pastor. Sheriff Jordan was forced by court order to return the stolen ambush car to its owner. What followed was tension and conflicting stories coming from the officers and witnesses. Many stories were told. What can be believed? There is no one to dispute nor confirm and tell firsthand exactly what happened, and even when they were alive most stories didn't match. The story of the rifle with 666 between a pair of tens in the serial number, that was brought to the church by Bonnie Parker and then sent out of state to be kept in a bank in Louisiana, was known around Dallas. The story of Bonnie and Clyde being present when the pastor's son was converted, has been heard by millions of people around the world. In the published ambush stories, there are mysterious mentions of the borrowed Winchester 94-30-30 from a bank vault. In various accounts of Prentice Oakley and Sheriff Henderson Jordan, it is also mentioned. Could it be that the confusion in the use of the Winchester on the highway in Louisiana was affected by a prayer in Texas? Was it all because a young girl was frightened by a gun with 666 in the serial number? Did she make a good choice for the gun but not for herself? The serial number on the Winchester confirms a manufacture date of 1929. Bonnie and Clyde were killed in 1934. The pastor who prayed over the Winchester died in the 1960s. His son, who sat on the same pew as Bonnie and Clyde, was 94 when he died in 2007. His younger brother, who handled his father's estate, died at 95 in 2016.